Hi there. I'm going to do a review for Raiders of the Lost Ark. This movie came out in 1981. It was directed by Steven Spielberg and basically starring Harrison Ford. Uh, I think this is one of the first movies that really, I think it spearheaded the whole treasure hunter adventure movie. Ironically enough, I think pretty much also zapped the power of them because you could really only make these films and you couldn't really do much more than that. These films identify or epitomize the idea of the adventurer, the treasure hunter character that has inspired a few other movies like it. I don't think it had quite as much of influence as other movie genres, but nonetheless, it was all good. This movie launched a bunch of Indiana Jones movies in the 1980s, and then later on they decided they just couldn't help themselves and they've now made two more. Um, I've seen those other two. I don't mind the fourth, and the fifth wasn't that good. I didn't like it very much at all, but nonetheless, Raiders of the Lost Ark, it was a great movie. It's got a lot of synergy of different characters, different ideas. Basically, the story goes is that the Germans in the 1930s are trying to get after um, the Covenant Ark of the Covenant, which apparently is going to give them magical ability to do whatever they want to do. It's never decisively explained what they're really planning on doing with the Ark of the Covenant, or what it's supposed to do for them, or why they're going after it. They're just going after it. It's all good. They're all happy. More or less, Master Sir of Germany at the time was trying to get a hold of, I think, basically just trinkets of different places. So he wants to get a hold of all this stuff so that he can claim all this treasure victories. But nonetheless, he also wants power. Of course, that's the joke of all these films, is that somebody wants power. Nonetheless, a perfect combination of comedy and beautiful exchanges of action and adventure. Starts up in the usual way all Indiana Jones films start up, with Indiana going through a sequence at the start involving an initial treasure hunt, trying to find a treasure in a cave. It sets up the whole thing. It gets the ball rolling on exactly what kind of movie you're going to be getting into. It happens to have a sequence included involving Alfred Molina, which is a fairly early role, I think, for him. I don't think anybody's familiar with him other than the fact that he happens to be in the Spider-Man 2 movie. Nonetheless, this movie here, yeah, you have the intro sequence, and then you get the ball rolling of what Indiana Jones really is. He's an archaeologist, he's a history professor in the University in Chicago, and I mean, it's actually quite interesting seeing those shots themselves, because obviously people know he exists. He's not just a treasure hunter that nobody's ever heard of. He's actually quite respected. Lots of people know the name, and of course they need him to go after the Ark of the Covenant. He apparently everybody's heard of this thing. Of course, it's kind of like a myth, a legend. Nobody's really seen it. Nonetheless, the Germans are trying to dig it up and trying to get a hold of this thing so that they can do things. And when Indiana goes, of course, he takes the usual flights that they have to show on a map. He ends up meeting with his old flame, Marion, who was played by Karen Allen, uh, somewhere in, I think it was Nepal or Tibet. Doesn't really matter. Nonetheless, she's in an area. It was kind of an infamous drinking scene involving her and a bunch of Tibetan people. Um, she operates a bar basically. But nonetheless, the Germans, of course, catch up with him in this area, and they find out that basically, you know, he's got things. He gets a hold of trinkets. It's a very fun little film. Basically, the Ark of the Covenant, Indiana has to find out where it is. The Germans are looking for it, and he's looking for it. They actually don't know where it is. They have to look up for clues and positions. And eventually, Indiana sort of figures out where it is, figures out where it all is, and it inspires lots of spectacular shots. But nonetheless, the Germans get a hold of it for their nefarious purposes, and they transport it across where they want to take it, which is back to the home plate. But in order to get there, they got to go through a bunch of other spectacular sequences, and Indiana Jones gets the upper hand in some cases. It's a very funny movie for the fact that the chief protagonist actually has no direct um, control over events. He's kind of just there. Um, if he hadn't gotten involved, the Germans would have taken it where they were taking it and died. He goes where they're going and they die anyways. So in a sense, it doesn't really matter if he's there. But of course, you don't know that until the film ends that it wouldn't have mattered what he had done. You only know that when he does it. So it doesn't really matter. It's a great movie. Lots of little sequences. You learn that Indiana Jones doesn't like snakes. It's never really explained exactly why he doesn't like snakes. I think there's a joke about it in the third film. However, that doesn't even explain it very well. All we know is he doesn't like snakes. And you get lots of good little shots of he's got some rival archaeologists from different places. I believe the one guy is a French guy, and he of course is working for the Germans and trying to find this stuff, and they all it leads to lots of different location shots and stuff. But yeah, Indiana Jones is trying to more or less he's trying to get a hold of the Ark. He obviously wants to keep it in the Germans' hands, but yeah, more to the point, it's also an impressive archaeological discovery for him to do. So he's going through all these different places, and eventually they do find it. It's kind of an unusual place. They didn't really expect it to be there, but nonetheless, it still inspires some spectacular shots. I think I think ironically the best scene in the film is literally the last scene where the Germans find out that maybe finding the Ark of the Covenant was not such a good idea. They kind of end up all dying. They found out this was probably a bad thing. And I'm guessing they realized that a little bit too late. But nonetheless, then you get the other infamous shot at the tail end of the film where the Americans get a hold of the Ark and they take it back and they say, "Oh, we're putting it in a very safe location." Of course, they're putting it in a warehouse which has about 20 million boxes in it, so nobody's ever gonna find the thing. And that's the joke of the film, is that, like, in the end, is that in a way it doesn't really matter who found it. It ends up in the United States, but that nonetheless. I don't know if there's any actual archaeology that happens in this film. I know that there's a lot of digging, but it's mostly not Indiana that's doing it. It's a lot of hired hands and hired help. But nonetheless, pretty good film. Actually, a great film. It's got all the precipice for comedy, action, suspense, and thriller. It's just a good film. It inspires lots of locations, different things happening, because of course Indiana goes through the markets of different places and he has to deal with different things. Altogether, it's of course well, it's not necessarily my favorite film, but it's up in the top 20, I think. Nonetheless, it's a great movie, and I think that pretty much does it.